I got attacked by a mountain lion. My friend is up there.
I'm so worried about my friend.
It was spring of 2018, and two friends, 32-year-old S.J. Brooks and 31-year-old Isaac Cedarbaum, were enjoying a mountain biking session on some logging roads near North Bend along the Cascade Mountain foothills just east of Seattle, when they were both abruptly ambushed and brutally attacked by a wild mountain lion. This video details their deadly encounter, which saw one of them sustain severe injuries and the other tragically lose their life. It was a beautiful Saturday in May of 2018, and good friends S.J. Brooks, the director of operations at Hillman City Collaboratory, a research assistant at the William James College Institution, and an active advocate for colored trans and non-binary cyclists, and their friend Isaac Cedarbaum, a PhD candidate who at the time was an office manager of G&O Family Cyclery in Seattle's Greenwood neighborhood, a manager at Boston Center for the Arts, and a bicycle mechanic, were enjoying a mountain biking session on some logging roads near the North Bend along the Cascade Mountain foothills. The pair cycled side by side, enjoying a conversation about Isaac's eagerness and excitement of cycling for an upcoming community event, as well as discussing their common goals and efforts to help women of color, trans, and non-conforming people develop an interest in cycling. As they admired the scenery of the Cascade Mountains, consisting of rivers, lakes, and waterfalls, little did they realize that they were being stalked by one of America's most dangerous predators. As SJ and Isaac neared the foot of the mountain and were in the midst of a turn onto a rugged trail, a stunned Isaac, who was at this time riding right behind SJ, suddenly turned and noticed the mountain lion chasing him. In a panic, the 31-year-old then instinctually screamed help, prompting SJ to stop and turn around, recognizing the imminent danger. SJ shouted back, "Don't run. Stop. Stop right now, Isaac." As the pair stood frozen in their tracks for a few moments, the mountain lion adjusted its pace to a slow, cautious walk and sized them both up as it assessed the situation. This bought the pair some time to think. In an attempt to scare it off, SJ and Isaac then raised their arms in the air, attempting to look as big as possible, while at the same time using one arm to hurl rocks at the approaching cougar. As the cougar inched even closer to Isaac, he then grabbed his bike and threw it at the big cat with all his might, a last resort maneuver which seemed to work at the time, causing it to flinch and retreat to a nearby tree. Noticing that tossing objects seemed to be working, SJ would at this point keep on hurling rocks at the cougar, while Isaac was using items from his backpack to do the same. This prompted the cougar to just moments later then jump into some thick bush and out of sight, prompting a sigh of relief from the traumatized friends, who assumed they successfully fended off the danger. Taking a minute to be grateful that things didn't turn out worse, SJ and Isaac then mounted their bikes and were likely about to head home. This is when suddenly out of nowhere, the stealthy cougar ambushed them once again, pouncing on Isaac this time, knocking him down, and sinking its teeth deep into his face, causing blood to gush out and cover his eyes, impairing his vision. Isaac tried his best to pry the cougar's jaws open with his hands, but to no avail, and a horrified SJ, realizing that time was of the essence, knew that standing and watching was not going to do any good for both of them, which is when they yelled, "I'm gonna go get help," and started riding as fast as they could. However, their quick movements prompted the mountain lion to turn its attention towards them, release Isaac, and begin a full-on charge. No match for a big cat's speed and agility, even on a mountain bike, the cougar then easily caught up to SJ and pounced on them before they could even react, and proceeded to relentlessly bite and claw at them. Just a few meters away, a dazed and disoriented Isaac, in a state of pure agony, managed to sit up and wipe the blood from his eyes, only to, upon doing so, notice the cougar dragging a kicking and screaming SJ towards a tree. Isaac then, as quickly as he could, hopped on his bike and attempted to call 911 from his cell phone. However, since he had no signal, he had to start riding. He then cycled as fast as he could in an attempt to get some bars on his phone, while simultaneously taking off his shirt as he was riding and wrapped it around his head to contain his massive bleeding. Isaac continued to cycle for about 2 miles until he finally had some bars on his cell phone, allowing him to call 911.
I got attacked by a mountain lion. My friend is up there.
I'm so worried about my friend.
Okay. Do you know how far out he is from where you are?
But he's behind a gate. It hurts.
I know, but you're doing a really great job staying calm there. We're trying to, get you all the help that you need there.
It was at this point that Isaac handed his cell phone to a stranger who had just happened to be passing by.
Hello?
Hey, is this Isaac?
Yeah, this is Paul actually. I'm here with Isaac.
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. Can you put Isaac back on?
You hear me?
Yeah, sorry about that. Looks like the line dropped off there. So how are you doing?
I need an ambulance.
Yeah, we've already notified them. We're just trying to get to your location. You're kind of out in the woods there, so we're trying to make sure that we're sending him to the right place. We think we got a good location for you. Do you know how far out he is from where you are?
At most 5 miles.
Okay.
About 7 miles from the
But he's behind a gate.
He's behind a gate. Do you know, like, if it was like a trailhead that you started at, or?
It's on logging roads.
Okay, so you're out on a logging road?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very bit hurt.
I know, but you're doing a really great job staying calm there. We're trying to, get you all the help that you need there. I think I told the people who are with you, I want to make sure that you're keeping pressure on your wounds to try to control the bleeding. They said it was slowing down, so that's good. We like to see that. Okay, so I'm going to let you go so you can talk to them, okay?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Good luck. Bye.
The stranger, who was in a way a hero in this story, then tended to Isaac's wounds as best as he could and provided the dispatcher with their precise location as they waited for the rescue copter to arrive. After several hours of surgery due to severe injuries to his head, neck, and face, Isaac had very fortunately survived the incident despite nearly losing his life. Unfortunately, SJ was not so lucky. Based on Isaac's direction of the location where they were attacked, authorities had rushed to the scene around the same time the rescue copter had arrived, only to find a lifeless and badly mauled SJ in what appeared to be a den with a mountain lion standing over top of them. An officer attempted to shoot the cougar immediately, but missed, causing it to run off and vanish in a matter of seconds. It wasn't until several hours later that Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife agents used canines to track down the big cat, chasing it up a tree upon finding it, at which point it would be shot and killed. DNA samples of the animal were then obtained and sent to a lab for comparative analysis to ensure that this was the culprit big cat that killed SJ and injured Isaac. The results were positive, and the cougar was found to be underweight at just 100 pounds, as opposed to the 140 to 180, which would typically be the average weight of a male its size. This, of course, according to authorities, likely played a big factor in its choice of prey, as its weak stature likely caused it to target prey that put up less of a fight, unlike its typical prey, which consists of deer, elk, bighorn sheep, and even smaller animals like raccoons.
Most of the ones that I have seen that have looked like this, they were dead. The determination and the persistence and the aggressiveness of this cat was exceptionally unusual.
The Seattle cycling community went on to mourn the death of S.J. Brooks on social media, and the Seattle Bike Blog, which they were a co-founder of, went on to collect remembrances for them, and many expressed their deep sadness and shock for having abruptly lost someone they described as a positive light and an inspiration. In March of 2024, brothers Talon and Wyatt Brooks, well regarded for their love for the outdoors, set out to hunt for shed antlers near Kelsey on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. As they were walking down a dirt road at about 1 p.m., they were forced to stop in their tracks when a mountain lion suddenly walked out from within some brush and onto the road in front of them. It just moments later locked eyes with them and began its approach. It's important to note that because it was youth turkey season, the brothers chose not to carry firearms on this particular hunt, and were instead only equipped with a small backpack for carrying sheds. Given their years of outdoor experience, Talon and Wyatt knew that their best chance to avoid danger was to try and scare it off. This is when they raised their hands in the air to look as big as possible and began yelling at the top of their lungs. Seeing that this didn't halt the cougar's approach, a desperate Wyatt then throws his backpack at it. But this attempt backfires and causes the cougar to charge and lunge at him instead of retreating. It bites into his face and knocks him to the dirt. Talon quickly rushes over to help, throwing fists at the mountain lion as hard as he could, allowing a small window for Wyatt to wrestle the cougar into a more vulnerable position. As he manages to get on top of it, the cougar then claws at Wyatt's midsection, causing him to lose his grip, at which point the lion goes after Talon, charging him, latching onto his throat, and taking him to the ground. Wyatt, whose face was severely lacerated, did his level best to grab at and whack the cougar as hard as he could. But despite his efforts, the persistent feline just couldn't let go of his older brother, and knowing that time was of the essence, Wyatt would then pull out his cell phone and attempt to call 911, but given the location, he was unable to get a signal, and so was forced to run to his vehicle, which was the last place that he remembered having bars. Managing to get a hold of the authorities, Wyatt desperately rushed back to the attack site, but to his horror, there was no sign of Talon or the cougar. Reports indicate that Wyatt then drove himself to meet paramedics, who transported him to a hospital in Placerville, where he would undergo reconstructive surgery for his face and neck. EDCSO deputies meanwhile searched the vicinity of the attack and would finally find the cougar, near whom Talon was lying motionless. A deputy fired a warning shot instead of targeting the mountain lion, and this was due to the potential risk of the bullet striking Talon, as of course they weren't sure if he was alive or dead. However, tragically, upon fending off the big cat, they would discover that Talon had already passed. The mountain lion was later found, treed, and killed about 100 yards from where Talon's body was discovered by officers, and these were officers of the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, who managed to track down the cougar with the help of a trapper just hours after the attack. In August of 1996, Cindy Parolin had been enjoying her life in Princeton, British Columbia as an outdoors woman. The 36-year-old mother of 4 was a regular hiker, camper, and hunter, and was by all accounts someone who was not only passionate about the outdoors, but one who thrived in them. Known as a small ranching and mining town, Princeton, BC is famous for its beautiful mountains, forests, and vast wilderness. This land is also known for its abundance of diverse North American wildlife, ranging from herbivores such as mule deer and moose, to predators such as black bears, the occasional grizzly bear, and of course, the magnificent mountain lion. Found in the majority of ecosystems throughout North and South America, these majestic felines are amongst the most spectacular predators in the Western Hemisphere. Also known as pumas or cougars, mountain lions are furthermore known to possess the widest geographic range of any land mammal in the Americas. Although they may have a poor sense of smell, these big cats boast incredible eyesight and hearing. Not to mention, their extremely powerful hind legs allow them to jump as far as 40 to 45 feet, or 12 to 13 meters, a perfect weapon for ambush predators as stealthy as they are. Well aware of the potential danger that an encounter with one of these predators could pose, Cindy had spent a number of years repeatedly imagining scenarios of what she would do in such a situation, and although she was well aware of the risks, it was the thrill and excitement of these ventures, more than anything, that would eventually allure Cindy to take them on. On the afternoon of August 19th, Cindy and her kids, 6-year-old Stephen, Melissa who was 11, and David who was 13, had been preparing to go out on horseback in the backcountry. The plan was for them to meet up with Cindy's husband Les and their other son Billy at a cabin. The kids were also very much passionate about the outdoors, and so, just like their mother, enjoyed the thrills and the adventures that they offered. The group finishes up some last-minute preparations and thereby sets off on their journey to the cabin. Some time goes by, and Cindy and the kids have ridden for about a mile thus far. Everything seemed to be going smoothly as the family enjoyed each other's company and marveled at the beautiful backcountry scenery, when suddenly, all 4 horses begin displaying signs of nervousness. The family comes to a halt and attempts to figure out what was causing such a shift in their behavior. In the matter of just a few seconds, however, the reason for the horses' panic immediately becomes apparent when a huge male mountain lion bursts out of some nearby undergrowth, charging straight towards Cindy's youngest child, 6-year-old Stephen. It's important to note that mountain lions are widely known as some of the most efficient ambush predators in the animal kingdom. These animals rely on stealth in order to hunt this way, and it's certainly no secret that they are masters at avoiding detection. In fact, a common saying about these majestic felines goes, "You may not see a mountain lion, but you can be sure that it sees you." As soon as a mountain lion gets to within jumping distance, it lunges straight at Stephen's horse and attempts to latch onto its neck before momentarily losing its grip, at which time the mountain lion slips off the horse and falls to the ground. The agile cougar then immediately launches a second attack, this time managing to latch onto Stephen's shoe. At this point, Stephen's horse's fight or flight response kicks in, resulting in violently bucking the 6-year-old off its back and knocking him to the ground. Faster than a blink of an eye, the cougar pounces on Stephen and begins tearing into his scalp with its teeth and claws. Frozen in horror from what she was witnessing, Cindy, who was well aware of how rapidly mountain lions are capable of killing their prey, realizes just how little time she had to try and save her son's life. And so, in an act of sheer altruism, the 5'5" mother quickly drops from her horse, rips a huge branch off a tree, charges at the mountain lion, and proceeds to whack it with the stick as hard as she possibly could. The cat finally lets go of Stephen and now begins focusing his attention on Cindy, snarling and growling with rage for her having interfered with its hunt. As Cindy slowly and cautiously attempts to back away while maintaining eye contact with the cougar, it swiftly lunges forward with a powerful swipe, causing a deep gash on her arm. Realizing the cougar was now too close to effectively use the tree branch against it as a weapon any longer, the former karate student then grabs the big cat,
and starts hurling punches and kicks at it, and thereby wrestles it to the ground, engaging in a full-on fight with one of North America's most capable predators. Unlike most big cats, cougars kill by severing the spine by biting into a section of its vertebrae typically located around the back of the neck. Their powerful bite and supreme accuracy allow them to do this not just quickly, but efficiently as well. And speaking of efficiency, they additionally use their highly muscular front legs in combination with their razor-sharp claws to their utmost advantage, expertly maneuvering their ways toward their victim's neck before moving in for the kill. As David and Melissa looked on in horror, their horses, just like Steven's did, suddenly start bucking as well, causing both of them to fall off, at which point all 4 horses run off into the woods. The kids meanwhile continue to helplessly watch as Cindy continues to wrestle the cougar on the ground. The brave mother then lets out a piercing scream to David and Melissa, telling them to take their injured and traumatized little brother to safety as she used their hands to keep the cougar from getting to her neck. David and Melissa, of course, instantly oblige and carry little Steven away from the scene for what would be a very long, approximately 1-mile hike to the family car, which was parked once again at their campsite. Upon arriving at the campsite, David asks Melissa to stay with Steven while he goes looking for help. The horrified 13-year-old then frantically scours the nearby campsites and finally encounters a camper by the name of Jim Mannion. David thereafter almost uncontrollably explains the terrifying ordeal to Mannion, who then immediately grabs his 12-gauge shotgun, and the two then set off in Mannion's truck in an attempt to save Cindy. It had been more than an hour since the cougar launched its first attack, and Mannion and David look on in horror as a severely mauled Cindy, who'd been dragged to some nearby brush, was amazingly still alive and fighting, with the cougar still on top of her. As David screamed for his mother to hold on, Mannion begins hurling rocks at the cougar in an attempt to distract it, and after a few tries, it finally switches its attention to him. As the cougar begins making its way toward Mannion, Mannion rapidly raises his shotgun and attempts to fire a shot, only to realize that his gun was jammed. A quick thinker on his feet, Mannion then backs up and chambers a shell just as the cougar sprang off its feet towards him, and like something out of a Hollywood movie, manages to shoot the big cat mid-jump, causing it to flee off into some nearby bushes and out of sight. Mannion then rushes over to Cindy, but before he could utter a word, the heroic mother asks him just one question: "Are my children safe?" To which Mannion replies that they are, and it was at this point that Mannion noted that Cindy visibly relaxed and uttered the words, "I'm dying now." Despite rushing her to Princeton General Hospital in a desperate attempt to save her life, the damage had already been done, and Cindy was pronounced dead upon arrival. As a result of the horrific attack, 6-year-old Steven had to endure 70 stitches to help reattach his scalp, which the cougar had nearly completely torn away. The cougar, on the other hand, was found 150 yards away from the scene of the attack, indicating it hadn't made it too far after sustaining what would have been a fatal gunshot wound. In honor of her incredible display of courage and altruism, Cynthia Louise Corlett Perlin was posthumously awarded the Star of Courage the year following the attack. Despite being devastated by the tragic news, Cindy's family noted that they were not surprised about her act of heroism. She was fiercely protective of her family and wouldn't have thought twice about sacrificing herself to save any of them, said one family member during an interview. More than 600 people attended Cynthia's funeral, including camper Jim Mannion, who himself was also a hero in this story that selflessly helped put an end to an incident that would ultimately go down as one of the most tragic animal attacks in North American history.